Hello to everyone who likes jewelry. This is the next lesson from Serena, and today we're going to start a new project. We're gonna make a very beautiful necklace, and this lesson will be divided per 3 parts. And first part, I will show you how to make Kumihimo braid, but not with the ordinary beads, but with the natural stone chips. It's a cheap beads, regular size string and regular size chips. So neither big nor small, the middle one. So I have amethyst and clear quartz today. So this is a very nice idea, very nice looking braid. But first I'm going to remind you how to use Kumihimo. So to make a Kumihimo braid I need 8 strands divided per 4 sides, and 2 strands for each side. So it's a very easy to make. 4 or 8 strands must be connected per 1 knot. You can use 4 long strands and divide it in the middle by big knots, so you will have 8 ends. And per each strand I have many cheap beads. I didn't count them actually. I have a lot of these beads. I have 2 strands actually of amethyst and 2 or 3 of clear quartz, so that's why I'm not counting. I'm not worried that it will be not enough to make a braid. And actually my braid will be in the center, so I will have many techniques, as I said, in this jewelry, so keep on watching. It will be a really interesting project, and I will show you from A to Z how to make these beads, how to make this necklace. So as you see here, I use knots for fixation. I didn't use bobbins, maybe because when I have Kumihimo first time and I tried to make a braid, I didn't have bobbins, so maybe I used to, it's my habit. So just I make a knot in the end. And also bobbins, probably they're too much noisy because I used many objects instead of bobbins and I was trying them, but while I'm working they're too much noisy and I don't like it. So I make this knot. As you see, it's just one simple action, and you can remove this knot very simply. But be careful if you have a thin strand. If you do it in the wrong way, so you can make an unmovable knot, so it will create a problem then to remove chips or add some if you want, if you need. So I have a thick strands today, and actually I have no idea where I got them from. Just I found them in my working box, and all this, the length are different, so just I found them and I connect them together, and I think so here I have maybe 50 centimeters or something. They were long, but as I said, my necklace will be made not only by Kumihimo braid, so I will have many addings like beads and frame stones as well, so it will be just a middle, just a central part. So as you see, the chip beads are middle size, maybe, as it was written when I was buying them, they said that it was around maybe 8 millimeter, so it's 7-8 millimeters, something like that, but they are irregular. So that's what I want to talk about today. So this is the aim of this video, to talk about chips and how to use them. So you see, this is quite nice quality and nice size, and you do the same actions as you're working with big cornices or small beads, for example. So let's talk about spiral effect, because the last time I was making Kumihimo necklace, I was talking about the spiral effect. So let me show you how to create this nice spiral ornament. So to do this, you have to prepare your threads and add the beads of different colors. I mean the contrast colors, especially if you use chips, otherwise it will be just not visible, because this is a regular beads, different shaped beads. So I have white and violet, so up and down side I have white and left and right I have violet. So if you add only violet on left and right side and only white per up and down side, you will have a spiral effect. So this is everything you have to know. So nothing special about this technique at all. So let's speak about the order of thread matching. So I already started my braid, and now my action is adding beads actually. So now look at my beads. First I will show you the shape. As you see, the shapes are very different, and the size is very different. So this way oftenly they write like 5-8 millimeters, and it's really true because you have tiny beads, round beads, square beads, whatever you want you can find here. So when I'm adding beads on the string, I'm thinking about how big should be my bead. So if the middle size of my beads is around 7 millimeters, so if I have two tiny beads, I'm not throwing them away, I'm just put them together. As you see here, I have two small beads, and I will use them as the one bead when I will make it my braid. So you will see how it works when I will show you how to add chip beads, so keep on watching. So let's think about the order of matching our strings. So we're taking the left up string, put the bead under the threads and pull it down. So now we see 3 strands down and only one up. It's the best position if you want suddenly stop your work and go somewhere, so you will never forget where you stopped. And the left in the right down strand will go up, and now we again see 2 strands up and 2 strands down. In the same time we're adding the beads. We're adding them the same way as we use crystals, beconnases, or tiny stone beads or pearls, whatever. So we're always putting the bead under the next strands, so it must be, go under them. I already shown you this process very closely in my previous video about reddish and silverish shiny necklace, so have a look there. So we turning our Kumihimo clockwise and do the same action, and each time we're doing the same action, but we're not matching anything, we are not making any mistakes, so it guarantees that we have a nice braid. So another question, why I'm not using nothing heavy on the other side of Kumihimo? First of all, I'm holding strongly my braid under the Kumihimo disc with my fingers. Each time I'm pulling all the strings after each step, so they are tightened very well. And as far as my braids start to grow, start to become longer, it's made of natural stones and it's heavy itself. It's so heavy that all the strings going down to the hole in the center, and each time I have to pull in them. So I don't need anything heavy in fact. And the secret of this braid also, because all the beads are irregular, sometimes we can see the strength between beads. To avoid this, we have to pull all the string. They must be tightened very well, but in the same time we have to be careful to avoid the bead fall off on the surface, Kumihimo, so it must stay under the threads when you add beads, I mean. So keep watching it, each time tight well, so it must be no extra strand between your beads in already made braid. So this is a very important. So I already described you all small details about creating the chip bead braid, but now I want to speak about the chips themselves. So why I like Chinese chips? Because they have a big hole, and I can use rather thick strands to make a braid. And that's why first, when you create the design, make sure that the hole in your chips are enough to put the strand in, just to avoid being very upset when you prepared everything and just they are not coming inside. Also use the glue per each end of your string, just to make the process easier when you're putting the beads on the string. So also I like Indian beads, Indian chips, but generally this hole is very tiny, and I have to use very thin string for them. So now have a look at the video, because I'm now adding, as you see, 2 beads in the one time. Why? Because my regular size of beads is around 7 millimeters, and these 2 beads were too tiny. They was like little slices of stone, very thin. That's why I connected them together, and I got a 1 big bead instead. I was planning it when I was adding beads, and it gives me a guarantee that my braid will be the same thickness from each side. So Indian beads are also very nice, and why I like them, because there are many really valuable stones on sale and chips from India, but this little hole creates really a problem. But in this case I'm using the sewing strands. I buy them in sewing shops, and I use not just the thin regular thickness thread. I'm using the thread for a jeans. In my country it calls number 100, the thickness. So this is the jeans strand, and they are on sale in many colors. So if I'm working with Indian chip, generally I'm use only 1 or 2 jeans strands, jeans threads together. So this is much cheaper than to buy in the jewelry crafts shop. It's much cheaper, and you can choose. You use only 1 strand if you have a little holes in your chip beads, or you can use 2 or 3 together to make your strand thicker. So it's up to you how thick will be your strand. So that's why I prefer just the sewing strand. So and generally if the Indian chips are tiny, they are very thin. They are really thin, like slices of stone. So when I'm creating the braids from Indian tiny stones, so I use 2, 3, even 4 tiny beads per one step. But there is one little difficulty. When you're buying the strings of the chip beads, when you're buying the chips in the shop, don't think about the length of your string. It actually doesn't really important. The most important thing is the size of your beads. So here I'm showing you that the 3 down and 1 up. So it's the best position to drop your job. So because I have a small baby, it's very actual for me. So I will never find where I stopped. And this is very important for Kumihimo. If you start in the wrong position from the wrong strings, you will fail your work. So keep on watching on this. Well, about the Indian beads, about the strengths, the length. So it doesn't really matter how long is your strand. It's not as important as the size of them, because once I bought the jade strand with the big chips, because in my country even it has a different name, and also English-speaking sailors sometimes call them just irregular shape beads, or irregular shape or big chip beads. So it doesn't really matter, but these are really chips, but they're too big. And I bought this strand, and I was planning to make Kumihimo central part as well as this necklace I'm making now. And I was so upset because in the end I've got a really short, maybe 10 centimeters braid because my chips were big. And the length of your string doesn't matter, the size of the stones of the beads, the size of the beads creates the length if they are on the strand. For example, when you're creating bead necklace. But when you're using Kumihimo, the size of your beads creates not the length but the thickness of the braid itself. I hope so. I described what I wanted and you got me. So if your stone is big, if your bead is big, your braid will be thick but not long. If you have many tiny beads and you will use them one bead per one step, for example, you have very thin braid and long braid because you had many chips. So the quantity of chips is important, but not the size. So if you have very big chips, buy 3 strands, for example, but not one. One is not enough. If, for example, we have 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter, even bigger chips, they are like this on sale. And I have them, and I already tried. So as a result, I have very big, thick, precious, huge braid, but very short. So before I used Kumihimo, I never created braid before, and I was just putting the beads on the strand of the thread, for example, and just add the locket and just make the ordinary beads. And when you have ordinary beads, it's the size of your beads is really means. So if you have 1 centimeter bead size, it's enough 40 of beads to create a necklace. So 45 is enough. But to make the Kumihimo necklace, you'll have a very thick one, but very short one as well. So my Kumihimo braids start to appear, and the light spiral effect is also visible. I'm not going to have a spiral effect, but just I want a nice color changing effect, you know. So that's why I decided to use this technique, because these are irregular beads, so it will be not really perfectly visible as if I use the beads or beaconesses as I used before. So I keep on turning my Kumihimo, I keep on working. So very soon I will have nice long braid, and I will show you the result. Actually, it's not the end. In the second part of this lesson, which you will see very soon on YouTube, we will make a framed faceted gemstones, which we connect to our Kumihimo braid, of course. So with so many techniques, I will show you something new definitely, and I'm sure you will find it handy and useful. So I'm keep on going. Each time I'm pulling my strands, especially if your threads are thin. They cannot hold so heavy weight of natural stones, so your braid is always going down. Even if you hold it under the Kumihimo disc with your fingers, still the thin threads are not holding the they're not fixing the braid itself. So that's why each time you have to pull tightly all your 8 threads. So keep your watching on it. It's very, very important. Otherwise, just your braid will be disshaped. You know, like not clear shaped. It will be soft and looking not really professional. So if you're just training, it's better to take thicker cord, for example, like 1mm cord, and the crystal beads where the hole is bigger. Well, but the Chinese chips are always also nice, and the process is very simple, easy, and the regular beads, they are generally being long beads, you know, and they are holding the threads much better than round beads. So the process is easier, and I'm really enjoying when I create the cord like this, the braid, I mean. So I finished with my braid. So you see the nice spiral effect and the color changing effect. So today my table is yellow, so not good for a color. But if you saw it in the real life, it's shining and it's clear colors, and it's really fresh colors, very wonderful looking. Very nice combination of stones. So here I have a big knot, and when I removed all the threads from my Kumihimo, I was fixing with my fingers the end of my braid, and I also made some at the same action but without bead, just to create a little tail and just to make a knot in this way I'm showing you now. So I have already prepared braid, and now I'm going to use the cups to finish my work and to prepare it for the next lesson. So you see one of my ends already done. The thickness of the braid is rather thick actually, and the regular size cups are not enough to cover all the surface, so I cannot avoid it, unfortunately. I don't have bigger cups. This is a patinated piece of wire, but still it will be looking not bad. So it's a 1 centimeter cup for 1 centimeter braid, but if you use a big chips, you're gonna need something too huge, you know, to cover all the top. So I use the patinated piece of wire. If you don't have patinated piece of wire, use the buy in the shop the copper tone, antique copper tone eye pins, for example, and you can use them. If you are going to match this design with the patinated copper wire wrapped connectors like I'm gonna do, and you're using the copper wire like me, so please then patinate it before. So you see, so I put my wire under the knot. My knot is big, so I'm easily making the loops around it just for better fixation. And also very oftenly it's very hard to prick the braid by the wire, because it's rather my wire is rather thick. It's not like a needle, so it won't come through the cord, and it's okay. You just can put it under the knot. It's also fine, especially if you use glue in the end. So the sticky glue will connect all the textile with the copper wire together, so you will never lose your braid. It will be fine. So pressing tightly with my pliers to connect all together, and now I need my cup to finish the work. So use the already patinated wire. Why? Because if you, for example, want to connect all together and only then put in a jar with the ammonium, it's a bad idea. Because if you buy any Chinese crafts like cups, for example, or maybe charms or something, or beads, guys, this is not solid copper. This is the copper color. It's just plated jewelry. It's a plated craft, and if you put it in ammonium, you will lose the color forever. It will become grayish, brown and gray color, very disgusting, ugly looking. So patinate everything separately. So my glue is clear and not visible at all, even if it comes out a little. I'm doing it for a better fixation. You can do it, maybe not, but I prefer to protect my work. And put my cup on the wire, and very accurately, like this, pull it onto the end. So that's how I finish my work. Then I cut the wire. I don't need so long one. Just I will leave maybe 1 centimeter just to fix by making a loop by my round nose pliers. You can use one loop. You can use a secured loop, like you making a loop and then move your wire around it, or you can make a double loop like I did. So looping the wire up till the end, it will press the cup tightly to the stones. So very quick action, I think. So you don't need to watch it too closely because it's a simple thing. And I think so everyone who are working with the braids, they know how to do that. So it's a very, very beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful thing. And I use so many types of chips to create the similar braids. And you can see the jewelry in this technique on my Facebook page. I have many photos there, and I will add more. So this was a video. So guys, subscribe, and I wait you at my new video lesson. So see you then. Cheers.